Imagine waking up and just grabbing your phone before you've even had a sip of coffee.
Right, just the usual morning routine.
Exactly. You open your feed, and suddenly you see a name trending right in your local area. And it's not a celebrity.
No.
It's not some politician running for office.
Yeah.
It's a name you've likely never heard before, but it's attached to a story that just makes your blood run cold.
Yeah, that immediate sinking feeling in your stomach.
And right now, in Marietta, Georgia, that is the literal reality for thousands of residents.
Mm.
The name at the center of this whole storm is Kyle Bassinga. And the tension there, I mean, you can practically cut it with a knife.
It really is the textbook definition of a modern crisis. You have a community completely on edge and this rapid-fire flow of information where...
It's real.
Right, a lot of it unverified. Mm-hmm. And then you add in this very deep, heavy historical context that just turns a spark into a bonfire almost instantly.
So that is exactly what we need to unpack today. We aren't just looking at a news headline here. We're doing a deep dive into a phenomenon. Mm-hmm. We've got a stack of reports and community updates and analysis on this developing situation in Marietta. And the catalyst is this series of totally unconfirmed reports spreading like wildfire across social media regarding an alleged attack involving Kyle Bassinga.
And to be clear, we aren't talking about a minor scuffle here.
No, definitely not.
The rumors surfacing are graphic, very graphic. There are specific mentions of a body found hanging.
Because, yeah.
And that specific detail, the nature of the alleged violence, is crucial. We have to pause right there because that is what changes this from your standard crime report to a immunity trauma.
Right, it hits different.
Exactly. But looking at the conflicts surfacing in the source material, we have a very serious disconnect. On one side, you have this viral intensity, videos and posts on Facebook and URBTNews reports claiming this horrific event has occurred.
And then on the other side,
you have the official channels, law enforcement, city leadership who have not publicly confirmed any of these details yet.
That disconnect is terrifying for people on the ground. It creates this vacuum where fear just rushes in to fill the void.
Yeah, it does.
So our mission for this deep dive isn't to play detective. We aren't here to solve the case.
These authorities are doing that.
Right. Our mission is to understand why this specific report triggered such a massive visceral response. We need to look at the intersection of viral social media, the deep historical scars of racial violence in America, and that incredibly delicate trust between communities and law enforcement.
Or the lack of trust, as the case may be.
Exactly.
It is really about connecting the dots between a single unverified incident and the broader ecosystem of fear and history it lands in. Because these things do not happen in a vacuum.
They never do.
Yeah.
So let's strip this down a bit. Where did this actually start? Because it didn't start with a police press conference.
No. And that is the key piece here. It started online. We are seeing mentions of unconfirmed reports involving Kyle Bassinga circulating straight through social media channels, specifically Facebook.
Not the evening news.
Right. It appears to have originated from community-shared videos and posts rather than some official breaking news alert from a major network.
And usually, internet rumors are kind of vague, right? Like someone posting, I heard something bad happened downtown.
Yeah, very broad.
But this feels different.
It is different because of the specificity. The reports weren't vague at all. There were specific mentions of a location, Fair Oaks Park in Marietta.
Wow.
Yeah. When you have a name like Kyle Bassinga and a specific type of violence alleged hanging and a specific local park named Beta, it gives the whole thing a feeling of immediate reality.
Because it anchors the fear in a physical place, the place people walk past every single day.
Exactly. It's not abstract anymore.
And people reacted to that reality instantly. The descriptions we have of the community reaction in Marietta are intense. It's this potent mix of deep concern and anger and extreme caution. It feels like the community didn't wait for the official word to start mourning or to start mobilizing.
That is the fog of war we often talk about in crisis communication.
Fog of war, yeah.
Residents are stuck in this limbo. They are waiting for answers, but the authorities haven't publicly confirmed the details yet. And I think it is fascinating and honestly dangerous how that silence operates.
How do you mean?
Well, when official sources are quiet, even if it is simply because they are doing a thorough investigation and crossing their fishing, the community fills in the blanks with whatever information they have.
Which right now is just coming straight from their social feeds.
Right.
It's a race, isn't it? The rumors are sprinting and the official facts are running a marathon.
That's a perfect way to put it. And here is the insight we need to grapple with based on the sources. Unconfirmed reports are inherently dangerous, not just because they might be factually wrong.
But because of what they do to the people hearing them.
Exactly, because they heighten community tensions so rapidly. Before a single fact is established by forensics or police work, the emotional reality for the community is already set in stone. They are already grieving or they are already furious.
But hold on a second. I do want to challenge this idea of hysteria or panic, because saying the community is just reacting to rumors feels a little dismissive to me.
I agree completely.
We see crime reports all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why this specific reaction? Why does a report about a hanging or a lynching in Marietta, Georgia, strike such a specific raw nerve?
You are absolutely right to push back on that framing. It isn't hysteria at all. This is where we have to stop looking at the screen and start looking at history.
Okay.
The reaction isn't just about the present moment. It is heavily about the past. The current reaction highlights deep historical scars tied specifically to lynching in America.
And we aren't just talking vaguely about the old days either. The timeline in the source material really matters here.
It does. We are looking at a very specific dark window of time. The late 19th century through to the mid-20th century. In Georgia specifically and the South broadly, this is not ancient history.
Not at all.
There are people living in Marietta today whose parents or grandparents lived through an era where violence plagued African Americans, and specifically mob violence that occurred without legal repercussions.
Without legal repercussions. That exact phrase from the reports really sticks with me. It implies that for a long time the system wasn't just broken, it was actively looking the other way.
It was entirely complicit, and that is the necessary context for the fear we are seeing today regarding Kyle Bassinga.
Right.
When a community hears a rumor about a hanging or a lynching, it is not treated as just another random crime. It evokes very specific memories.
It's trigger.
Yes. Unconfirmed claims trigger strong emotions because they evoke memories of what the sources call a painful, difficult, and complicated past.
So think of it this way. If you live in a house that is burned down 3 times and suddenly you smell smoke, you don't wait for the fire alarm to go off before you grab your kids and run out the door.
That is a brilliant analogy. It is a defense mechanism. The reaction, the anger, the immediate mobilization we are seeing is born from historical trauma.
It's survival.
Exactly. It is the community saying, we have seen this before, and we know what happens if we don't make noise right now. It's not just jumping to conclusions. It is pattern recognition.
The mention of Kyle Bassinga getting involved in a potential lynching scenario brings that history right to the surface.
Directly to the surface, yes.
That reframing is so crucial for us to understand. It explains why the silence from the police feels so deafening to the residents. But we have to talk about the actual tool that is delivering this smoke signal. Social media.
Oh, yeah.
This seems like a classic double-edged sword situation based on the reports.
It is the defining paradox of our time, really. On one hand, online platforms are incredibly powerful tools for accountability.
Right, because everyone has a camera.
Exactly. They bring attention to potential injustices quickly and efficiently. If something bad is happening, the world knows in seconds.
If you go back, say, 50 years, an incident might just be swept under the rug. No cameras, no witnesses, no story. But now, it's on a Facebook Watch video with thousands of views before the police even arrive on the scene. The visibility absolutely forces a response.
It does. But here is the counterweight that the sources warn about. The risk of misinformation is massive. Social media circulates incomplete or even entirely inaccurate accounts.
You get the speed, but you sacrifice the accuracy.
And in a situation, this volatile accuracy is literally everything.
This brings up media literacy. We always talk about media literacy like it's a homework assignment, right?
Oh,
Like check your sources, verify the author, look for the blue check mark.
Right.
But in a moment of sheer panic, does any of that actually work?
That is the core problem. Experts underscore the need to practice media literacy, but in a crisis, it completely goes out the window.
Because people are scared.
Exactly. It is the real-time struggle between the need for speed to expose an injustice and the need for patience to verify facts. When your fight-or-flight response is triggered by a report of a hanging up, your brain isn't asking, is this a verified source?
No, your brain is asking, am I safe? Is my family safe?
Yes. So the emotional stakes actually degrade our ability to fact-check in real time.
Wow. And community advocates are actually warning about this very thing in the reports. They aren't just saying share everything you see. They are being surprisingly nuanced.
They are. They acknowledge that online awareness is a vital accountability tool, but they also caution that premature conclusions can deepen divisions if the information turns out to be incorrect.
Imagine the damage if the community mobilizes based on a completely false report.
It undermines trust even further. It is a very high-stakes gamble for everyone involved.
So while the internet is doing its thing, just burning hot and fast,
Yeah.
what is actually happening in the real world? What is the official stance from law enforcement in Marietta right now?
Well, according to the local law enforcement agencies, they are treating these violent crime reports very seriously. They are not brushing this off as just an internet rumor.
Okay, that's good.
They are actively investigating thoroughly, gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, trying to piece together a timeline.
But they're also asking for something that is in very short supply right now.
They are asking for patience.
Yeah.
Authorities are explicitly urging residents to avoid speculation and rely solely on official updates. Their argument is that spreading unverified claims actively complicates the investigation.
How does it complicate it?
Well, if everyone is looking for a specific narrative that hasn't been proven, it can muddy the waters for the actual detectives trying to find the truth. It creates unnecessary fear, and it can even taint witness testimonies if people start repeating what they read online instead of what they actually saw.
But isn't that a really tough ask? Trust us and wait, especially given that historical context of no legal repercussions we just discussed.
It is an incredibly tough ask, which is exactly why the call for transparency is so loud right now. Several community organizations are calling on law enforcement to drastically improve their communication.
They want updates now.
They want to prevent misinformation by getting the truth out faster. They're essentially saying, we cannot wait for your perfectly polished final report. We need to know what you know right now to calm the streets.
And in the middle of this intense standoff between the silence of the police and the noise of the internet, there was another group stepping in, the faith leaders.
Yes, and their role is so critical here. They're essentially acting as the bridge. Faith leaders and local activists are urging the community to remain calm and vigilant.
Notice the pairing of those specific words, calm but vigilant.
It's a very delicate balance.
What does that actually look like in practice on the ground?
It means they are validating the community's fear. They are saying, we hear you, we know the history, and we are watching the authorities closely.
Right. They aren't saying go home and forget about it.
Exactly. But they are also saying, do not burn down the house before we know what actually happened. They are trying to keep the peace while the answers are sought.
Being a bridge is hard work.
A bridge has to bear weight from both sides. The anger and trauma of the community on one end and the slow bureaucracy of the police investigation on the other. If that bridge collapses, you just get chaos.
So everyone is trying to hold this fragile situation together while they wait for the facts to finally land. But here is where it gets really interesting to me as we look at the broader impact. Regardless of what the investigation finds, whether the rumors about Kyle Bassinga are 100% true, partially true, or completely false, something has already shifted in Marietta.
That is the key insight from the analysis. The incident, regardless of the final outcome, has already sparked completely necessary conversations.
Because it exposed the cracks.
Yes. Residents are now actively focusing on dialogue. Topics that might have been dormant or just whispered about are now fully on the table. Race safety and unity.
So the rumor, even if it remains unconfirmed, acted as a massive catalyst.
It did. Civic leaders are now focusing heavily on community healing and building stronger relationships between different groups. We are seeing reports of community forums hosting broad discussions on racial justice.
Trying to fix the underlying issues.
The stated goal is to ensure all residents feel safe and protected equally. It is almost like the sheer fear forced the community to look at itself in the mirror and say, okay, we need to fix the foundation so we never feel this afraid again.
It's a proactive approach rather than just a reactive one. And there are actionable steps being pushed too.
Right. There is a major push for residents to report accurate information through proper channels rather than just blindly spreading rumors online.
Kind of trying to break the cycle of viral panic.
Exactly. Law enforcement is pleading, if you have direct knowledge, tell us. Don't just tweet it. It is a slow move towards structural cooperation.
This feels like it goes back to that idea of community safety being so much more than just police patrols driving around. It is about information integrity.
And fundamentally about relationships. You cannot communicate effectively with people you do not have a relationship with.
So true.
The source material repeatedly emphasizes building stronger relationships among different groups. That is honestly the only way to survive the fog of war we talked about earlier.
Because if you trust your neighbor and you trust your local leaders, the rumor mill just inherently has less power over you.
Exactly. Trust is the antidote to panic.
So let's zoom out for a second. We have covered the viral spark with Kyle Bassinga, the deep historical trauma that acted as fuel, the chaotic double-edged role of social media, and the genuine attempt by community leaders to steer the ship. This is a lot to take in.
It is heavy, very heavy, but it is also a very clear and accurate picture of where we are as a society right now.
We are living in a world where information moves faster than verification.
And where historical wounds are still very much open and raw.
So as we look at this entire complex situation in Marietta, what is the big takeaway? How do we synthesize this for someone listening to us who might be sitting in a similar community right now?
I think you have to look at the delicate balance the source material presents. On one side, you have the absolute validity of the community's historical fear.
You cannot dismiss it.
No, you cannot.
Yep.
It is real, it is based on documented history, and it drives a completely justified need for immediate answers. But then on the other side, you have the absolute necessity of waiting for verified facts to ensure justice is actually served properly.
It's about walking a very thin tightrope.
Yeah.
You can't tip too far into panic, but you also can't tip too far into complacency.
It is. The core message distilled from all these sources is that vigilance against violence must go hand in hand with responsible information sharing.
They depend on each other.
You cannot have one without the other. If you have vigilance without facts, you just have blind panic. But if you have facts without vigilance, you might just end up with apathy. You absolutely need both.
That idea of responsible information sharing really puts the burden squarely on us, doesn't it? The regular people scrolling on our phones, it's not just the police or the evening news anchors who have a job to do anymore.
Precisely. In a digital age, we are all broadcasters now. We all have a platform, however small it might be. Every single time we hit share or retweet, we are actively participating in the narrative construction of our own community.
Which is honestly a terrifying amount of power when you really sit down and think about it.
It is, and it brings us right back to that constant struggle of speed versus truth.
We live in a world where news, and especially rumors, travel faster than the truth ever could. That is just a fundamental fact of modern life.
And in that gap between the rumor and the truth, that is where the real danger lies. But as we've seen in Marietta today, that is also where the real opportunity for leadership lies. For faith leaders, for activists, and for everyday neighbors to step in and say, let's hold this space together until we know for sure.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a thought to mull over on your own. When you inevitably see that next viral post that makes your heart race, whether it's happening in Marietta or right in your own hometown, what do you do next?
Do you hit share immediately because it feels so urgent and necessary? Or do you take a breath and pause?
How do you balance the completely valid urge to speak out against injustice with the heavy responsibility to ensure what you are sharing is actually real? Because in the end, the truth is the only thing that actually brings lasting justice.
And getting to the truth, well, that takes time.
It certainly does. We will be watching the situation in Marietta closely as verified details emerge. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll catch you next time.